Will anything change in regards to the divestment? Because that's what these mayors are hoping, that something could be saved from the ONTC. Will anything be saved?
Well, you know, the fact is that we recognize how important the ONTC is in terms of obviously a transportation telecommunication system across the province. Clearly, a decision was made, a very tough decision, that indeed that moving forward on a divestment process with opportunities for the private sector was one that we think is in ultimately in the long-term best interest of the sustainability of the system. What we need now is the best advice we can get from people who understand it, I think the best, which are Northerners themselves, as to how can we make that process work. So one of the significant roles that will be being played by the Ministers' Advisory Committee is working very directly with me and with our ministry on setting up any criteria going forward, so that whatever proposals go forward as options for the private sector will be in the best interests of the system, of the ONTC, in terms of how it works in the future, a transportation strategy that works for the future. What we are looking for is the long-term sustainability of a transportation system, telecommunications system in northeastern Ontario that will work, and also in the context of a larger overall Northern Ontario transportation strategy. So we are keen. I am very keen to get that advice from all the members of the Ministers' Advisory Group. It's a great mix of people, none of whom are going to be shy about expressing their feelings about it, and certainly already have. And I'm hoping that we can ultimately end up at the end of the day with a system that works better.
Minister, but didn't you put the cart before the horse, though? Why didn't you do this 2 years ago before you made this divestment announcement, to have that input so you wouldn't have to go through this situation?
I've been a minister for a month. I'm very keen to continue to work in a very positive way with the Ministers' Advisory Group. It's a good, strong group. I can't speak about how things were done in the past, other than to say that I am certainly committed and convinced, as I tried to certainly express to the members at our meeting today, that the role they play is a crucial one in seeing that this process moves forward in a way that will truly benefit the system, the ONTC, but also northeastern Ontario in terms of all the constituents they represent, whatever organization they represent. I mean, we do have representatives, obviously, who are elected officials, First Nation representatives, Métis Nation representatives, and of course, obviously, from the transportation side themselves, who are obviously have a great interest in the future of the system. We've got to make sure it works right. So I can only say that we are committed, the Premier is committed, I am committed to working in a very close fashion and seeking the advice from this Ministers' Advisory Group to make sure that we make the right decisions the right way at the right time.
Minister, what does that mean? For the layman sitting at home, your commitment is basically they're saying, so what? Does this mean that you're looking at resurrecting the Northlander? Does this mean at resurrecting jobs that are probably lost? What does that mean to the regular guy?
Well, what it means is that we want to see the long-term sustainability of the ONTC. The decision was made a little over a year ago that indeed divestment and offering the opportunity to the private sector was the direction that we needed to go in. That indeed the long-term support that was there was unsustainable in terms of a government approach. So is there a way for the private sector to take over a number of the operations and run it in a more efficient and a better fashion and still maintain the priorities that are important to Northerners? I believe that there is. And certainly when we look at the rail side, we look at the refurbishment side, we look at other aspects of the ONTC, those are things that we want to see being run in for a long time in a way that works for Northerners. So again, I'm making the commitment I'm making as minister, and the commitment that's being made by Premier Wynne is that we want to make sure that this process is done in a fashion that is done right and it is done at the right time. And I won't pretend that me coming up here for one meeting and having one gathering is going to provide an enormous level of comfort to everyone in northeastern Ontario, but this is a real commitment. It's not just symbolic being up here. This Ministers' Advisory Committee is a very real committee, and we are going to be seeking very significant advice from them, and I know they will be expressing their feelings about this as well. So, we are determined to get this right, and won't pretend it's going to be easy, but we're determined to get it right.
Are you pausing the process until this criteria is developed, and what about the the proposals already received?
We're moving forward with the proposal. The Ontario proposal, for example, has already gone to the RFP proposal stage. It is moving forward, and I will be honest, there was some, expressions of concern expressed about that at the meeting today. They were hoping to have a greater role to play in that process. That is behind us now. That process has gone to the stage, but the other aspects of potential divestment have not moved forward on, and we are going to be playing a very significant role in terms of how that moves forward.
What's your timeline?
I won't say there isn't a timeline, other than to say we are quite committed to making sure that this Minister's Advisory Committee has the time it needs to provide the kind of advice it can to get this process right. So, in that sense, we're going to be trying to meet probably within the next month or so, and if not on a regular monthly basis. We're going to try and provide a great deal of information. As I say, we want to be able to get a lot of information to the members. That some of it is commercially sensitive, which is why we're having discussions around confidentiality and those issues. But I think we'll work our way through that. I certainly recognize that that for many of the people that are on this committee, they need to be able to speak to their constituents. They need to be able to speak pretty candidly about how they feel about it, and I'm okay with that as long as we protect those commercial interests and the interests of the taxpayers of Ontario. So, but the timeline, we're going to make this work. I mean, according to make sure that the committee itself has the kind of input that they think is legitimate, that they believe is real as well, that will have a positive impact for those they represent, whether it be their constituents, their communities, or their businesses.